We're on Tim Gunn's property here at Boobyalla Downs, and I've got Eric here again. But here we put 5 tonnes hectare of ag lime. The cage is a bit further over there. Tim, do you want to just give a little bit of history here on this paddock and this farm?
This is a new part of land that we purchased about 6 years ago.
Yep.
Probably under the previous management they'd probably struggled a little bit, so sort of lacking inputs, and hadn't been limed and fertilised for quite a long time, I would imagine.
Does the pasture sort of come back just from the liming?
Yes, I mean I can't 100% quantify that because I'm liming and fertilising at the same time, but it has surprised me. Paddocks which I went through, and you know, I'm no expert like Eric or maybe yourself, Peter, at identifying pastures, but I do know most of my pasture species, and I went through and identified every pasture that I thought I could salvage with fertiliser and lime, and it has surprised me, even some paddocks which I thought were fairly marginal that I've fertilised and limed, how they've come back.
Yeah, no, we've seen slight changes, slight improvements in the grass composition here. The 3 improved grass species here are ryegrass, cocksfoot and fescue. It's actually interesting that at this site, although looking at it, it seems relatively flat. What we're seeing here, we don't know the sowing history here, but I assume it was sown with a shotgun mix of a whole range of species, and now those species have found their own niches within the paddock, and when we were doing the composition, we've actually saw 3 distinct groupings of species. So on the risers we were seeing the cocksfoot and subclover. On the lower patches, which obviously get a little bit wet or got more I'll have better access to the soil moisture, we're seeing tall fescue and strawberry clover, and in between we're getting the ryegrass and white clover. So 3 distinct pasture combinations within this one paddock. And
so in the limed area compared to the control sites, did you notice a change with that?
Well, it just so happened that I think the lime area was up on the high.
Might have been slightly higher.
The subclover percentage composition was up around 30% on the limed compared to 5% on the no lime. So I think some of that may have been due to the situation of the plots within the paddock. But there are definitely improvements in the ryegrass and cocksfoot composition. At other properties we're seeing an improvement in the legume content and the good improved grass species content, and a reduction in the weedy grasses, particularly the Yorkshire fog with the lime.
It's interesting here too, when you get down to the 200-300 mils in depth in the profile, like your pH is getting down to less than 5, so when you get down it is dropping off, which is fairly natural around here in a lot of these spots. I actually did one reading of 3.9, not yours, but somebody else's place was 3.9.
So was that going through that hard pan?
No, there was no hard pan. It was all fairly sandy. But this is getting down. This wasn't in the tomahawk area, but it was less than 4. Just out of interest, They
won't be growing lucerne.
Won't be growing lucerne in there. No, those taproots won't be going down into it. We're going to have a webinar on the soil acidification trial, and that'll be happening in a few weeks' time. I'll be sending out a fact sheet in the next couple of weeks on the results so far. I hope to keep this trial going to see whether the pH does increase over time.